Hey everyone, just a brief message of apology before the start of this video. The Zoom connection was a little bit laggy and I didn't realise at the time that it was. And so while the audio is completely fine, there are sections of the video, particularly my video, which are a little bit sticky. And on one or two occasions later on we kind of end up talking over each other because of the lag. So apologies for all of that. I felt it's well worth airing anyway, despite those technical shortcomings. And so I hope you enjoy it despite those. Thank you for watching. Okay, everyone. Well, welcome back to Things That Bug Me. Today I have my friend Michael with me. We've only known each other for a few years now. We co-host a thing called the Glass Bead Game every Sunday night, so we've gotten to know each other pretty well over the years. Yeah, so I've invited Michael on to talk about something that bugs him. I'll hand over to him very shortly, where he can tell us a little bit more about himself and the thing that bugs him. As always, I will not interrupt him during that portion unless I have a sort of clarifying question. Other than that, Michael, over to you. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Yeah, I 2 weeks ago I saw the second Dune movie, and I stayed up all night writing a rant about it. Some the things that bug me about the movie is that so many people are celebrating it, and I've seen people like claiming it's the best science fiction that come out in 20 years, and I don't think it's a good science fiction at all, and I certainly don't think it's a good movie for all what it stands for. And many of the people there was around where many people jumped in, of course, when you criticize something that's very near to their heart, they immediately started defending the movie and then sell and their feelings about it. And of course, many of the people are big fans of the books, which I have never read, and my claim is that you shouldn't have to read the books to enjoy a movie like this, especially when it's marketed like a blockbuster movie like this. So the things that bug me in it, of course, from the beginning, that thing about the books, almost nothing is explained how it works in the movie. That you have to take away from the books. If you have read the books, I know of the world Dune and things like that. I've played two of the board games. I played the original real-time strategy game back in the late 80s, early 90s, I think. It was one of the first real strategy game that later inspired StarCraft and Warcraft and Command and Conquer and the earlier RTS games. I know of that as well. So I know about Dune and the worms and the spice and everything. And one of my favorite songs is Dancing Galaxy, where they sing about the theme of uh, astral projection is a group where they sing about the spice, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So I know a lot of about Dune, and the
So
things
you
that
know
bug
how
me is
much,
this movie is like,
yeah.
what?
So you know how much was missed out of the
Yeah,
movie. Yeah, no, you're
what?
absolutely. I read your rant on Facebook, and I agreed with pretty much
Yeah.
everything you said in that. I mean, I've seen both of the films. I enjoyed them, but I read the books long ago. I also know the story pretty well, and so I was able to fill in the blanks. But you're absolutely right. They don't talk like you've got this whole galactic thing around Arrakis and the spice, and they never actually really explain why is spice so important, right? Like that's a mystery. They don't talk about the guild. They don't talk about the space folding and the
Yeah.
role of spice in that. Like none of that is explored at all in the film.
Yeah.
So and the world building in general. I mean, you
Yeah.
made
Why should we
the
care
rant
at all?
about where are they getting their food from? Where are they getting their energy from? Right? Like all these millions of people, where is it all coming from on this desert planet? None of that is explained. So yeah, I think your critiques were absolutely right. What I think the films did very well, I think they created a visual aesthetic and a mood which I felt was quite true to the mood of. I mean, I read the books a long time ago. I was in my late teens, early 20s, something like that when I read the book. So it was a long time ago. But I do remember the mood of the thing, and I think he captured that quite well, and I think he captured, as I say, the aesthetic very well. And I thought some of the performances were really good, but I thought some of them also were very weak. I thought some of the roles were really miscast. So I agree with you. This thing that it is the greatest science fiction movie of all time or of the last 20 years or whatever, I agree. It's this hyperbolic nonsense, and I totally understand why it bugs you that people are praising it so much when it has such obvious shortcomings. Yeah, I agree with you. So do you want to explain a little bit more? I mean,
Yeah,
I've touched on a few of them, but do you want to just go into a few more of the details of some of the shortcomings of the movie from your perspective?
yeah, like you said, like it's very, very pretty, and you see what Dune must look like and feel like, and things like that. But there, for a science fiction movie, and the first thing that bugs me is that there is no dialogue in the movie. And Denise has self said in an interview, I referenced as a link in my post, that he hates dialogue in movie. That's for TV series and theater. And I totally disagree, especially a sci-fi movie where dialogue and intrigue, when it is about intrigue and power and politics, you need dialogue because
Hmm.
politics is all about dialogue. It's not staring at the sunset on a desert planet. That's not politics. And when it's a movie about politics, you need to have dialogue in it, and you have to need to explain what's going on, or people are just guessing. There are so many missing. The Spies and Guild, who's Bene Gesserit, where do they come from? And it totally belongs in a sci-fi movie, because else it's just art. It's not a story.
Hmm.
And that's okay if you want to make a fantastic art without the story, but don't sell it as a sci-fi movie or a story, because it's no story, uh, almost no story compared to what it could be, because the source material is so rich. There's a lot of story to tell,
Yeah.
but it's just not in this movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
And for it to be science fiction, it's like it has to ask interesting question. Like people, there's the old, what is science fiction? Of course, Star Wars is not science fiction. It's space opera or space fantasy, and it's fine. It's a fairy tale. It's a saga, and that's fine because it doesn't pretend to be sci-fi. There's sound and turning in space and things like that. It's totally. I love Star Wars for what it is, a saga. But then, if Dune should be a saga, it should at least pretend to be a saga, but it's not that either. So it's just art, pretentious art, like
Mm.
I said, and that's one of the things that bother me. And also, like, it's supposedly a love story, but I can't see the love. There's no exploration of love. There's no chemistry. There's like nothing like that as well. And it's a war movie, of course. And if it's a war movie, then it's poorly explained as well because they don't explain how they get the whole of high-tech weapons. Some people tell me that they have stolen them, but then nowhere in the movie they says that they have stolen high-tech weapons or where they got their magnetic flying mines and high-tech laser weapons from and things like that. So it's not even a war movie in that. And it celebrates violence, and we don't need that in the essence, especially in a world now where we can see there is violence in places where we don't want it, and it celebrates violence in a non-nuanced way. It just says it's okay to do a lot of violence and things like that. So that's also bugs me. It's a bad war movie, and it celebrates violence. It doesn't celebrate love or the counterpart of that, or even discuss or reference why violence is necessary, or why do we have a revolution? Why do we fight back? And why is there so much violence in the galaxy so far in the future? Is it are we becoming savages? Is there no intellectuals and no philosophy and no love and the things that we actually support in our glass bead games and things like that? When we look to the future, a beautiful future, where is all the philosophy and love and science?
All right. Okay. So there's a lot there. So the violence and war theme that you yeah, well, the violence and war thing that you picked up. So um the like it happens almost at the end of the second movie, right? That after they've overthrown the Harkonnens and taken over Arrakis, then the other houses, their fleets are in orbit, right? And and they refuse to acknowledge Paul as the new emperor or whatever, and so now they're at war, right? But again, as you mentioned in your rant, there is absolute because there has been no um, storytelling with regard to the other houses, right? Like we don't know anything about them. We don't know how much of a threat they represent. We don't know whether they're negotiable with. We don't know what the history of the relationships between the Atreides and the other houses are. Do you know, we've got absolutely no idea about any of that. And so all of a sudden, we've got this giant galactic war and we don't really understand why it's going on. And so I totally agree with that. I just want to push back a little bit on
Is
the
there a threat? Is there a danger? Should they
well,
be
exactly. No, we
afraid?
don't know. We don't know. And so this all feeds into the poor storytelling, which I totally agree with you. I thought this in the first movie as well. It was like a series of really beautifully constructed set pieces, but there was no real flow to it. There was no narrative arc. There was no sort of sense of being carried along through the thing. It was just, like you said, it was like a series of art pieces being presented to you in sequence was kind of what it felt like. I totally agree with all of that. But what I do want to push back, if you don't mind, just a little bit on is the glorifying violence thing, because again,
Sure.
loads of violence in it. No, I'm not saying that it wasn't that there wasn't lots of violence in it, but I actually thought it was one of the things it did well was examining that struggle between violent revolution and the consequences of it, and the messianic thing. You know, the bringing forth of a Messiah as a savior that everybody can rally behind. You know, is this a manipulation behind the scenes by the Bene Gesserit, sowing the seeds over hundreds of generations of myths and so on developing? Or is he actually some kind of a super being who can drink the worm juice? You know, I actually thought that conflict was dealt with pretty well in the film. It was one of the things I thought it did well. So the glorifying violence, I'm not sure I totally agree with you. I think it did debate whether, you know, it did indulge in that debate, although it did very easily slip into violence in the end, right? Like, but it was wrestled with somewhat, I thought.
Yeah, because I understand what you're saying. There's conflict there about what's necessary to do and what to do in this essence. But like all we see, all the characters are basically warriors
Yeah,
or killers. They're
yeah.
like, where is whole society? Where doesn't support an economy, a thriving war band, because they need to have like mega cities that produce high-tech weapons. You can't have a high-tech army without the high with only when all people are warriors, because then there's no science and
Mm.
manufacturing and economy and things like that. So
Yeah. Yeah, so this is the distinction you draw between, say, space opera and science fiction, is that science fiction is a clearly thought out vision of some kind of other world, other civilization, and by reading the book or watching the film, you
uh,
really get a
an
sense of what
economy at
that.
least.
Yeah. No, I totally understand. I totally understand what you're saying, and I completely agree with it. One other thing you mentioned, love,
Yeah,
also
and
as
when we
a
visit the Harkonnen world, yeah. Yeah, and when we visit the Harkonnen world, the feeling is that it's a planet with 100% warriors. How do they
mm,
support and build things and
mm,
eat when
mm,
100% of them are warriors or something like that?
yeah. So you
That's now how a war or armies work.
No, sure. No, absolutely.
100%
No,
of the
point
population is
taken. Point
warriors.
taken. With no economy, there's no army, right? No,
Yeah,
point taken. Um, the other thing you mentioned, apart from violence, was love, the lack of exploration of love. And again,
yeah,
I very much agree with you here. I felt no chemistry between Paul and Chani, that's it. That's her name. I felt no chemistry between them
yeah.
either. There was no explanation of the development of their
Mm.
relationship. They were just all of a sudden madly in love, right? And so it didn't feel real. I agree. And also the other thing is like the mother-son relationship. You know, the mother puts the
Mm.
son in a position to get killed on more than one occasion, right? And you know, there's something very interesting in that as well, right? The maternal bond even is secondary to the manipulation and the war, right? So yeah, the downplaying of love and the elevation of war, I
Yeah,
like on both fronts. I totally agree with you.
yeah, and like the scene when he suddenly declared the love to the emperor's daughter, we like, okay, I don't feel like any any feelings at all when he's breaking up with his other girlfriend. Like, okay, whatever.
Mm, yeah, yeah, totally.
And we come to the emperor and her daughter. We get a few narrative building up their story, but we feel nothing for the emperor. Why is he important? Why is his daughter important? Do they have power at all, or just there? Or are they
Mm,
just puppet for a puppet display? We know nothing and we feel nothing. When he's threatened, okay, whatever. I don't care. It's
yeah.
even if it's Christopher Walken, I don't like, okay. If he dies, whatever. Like, why should I care? I have no emotional bond with any of the characters like that. So.
Yeah, no, character development storytelling was weak throughout. I completely agree. I think you've given a pretty thorough account from many different directions of how poor it was in those
Yeah,
departments.
yeah, and as a counter example, then I could, Yeah, as a counterexample, I can mention like Rogue One. Like everyone has seen it, and we know how it's gonna end. We know they don't survive because they're not in the sequel, and still I cry every time in the end when Jyn Erso and Andor sits there at the beach because I care about them.
Mm,
They touched me, and I care about their revolution. They use violence and everything else, and they stand up to the oppressor. And I really care when they die at the end, even if they're not perfect humans in any essence.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you compared it earlier on to Star Wars, or you brought Star Wars in as a sort of counter, and I agree, they are very similar. They're not science fiction in the technical sense of, you know, a fully thought out civilization that's being lived, um, but with Star Wars, you absolutely do care about the characters. You absolutely understand what's going on. You understand why the characters are doing what they're doing, what their motivations are, right? Like the love story between Han and Leia, you completely believe, right? And yeah, so you know, they are similar in the sense that they are sagas, operas, whatever you want to call them, rather than technically science fiction. But Star Wars does it really, really, really well, and Dune somehow doesn't, even though the technical mastery that is on display in Dune is amazing. You know, like it is dazzling, but it's yeah, it's skin deep. It's yeah, it's appearance. It's all appearance. Very little substance.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame. So I think we've covered pretty thoroughly what bugs you and why it bugs you. I think I think we've got that pretty clear. Um,
Yeah.
what I like to try and do in the last part of this is see if we can't like turn the negative into a positive, right? Do a little bit of alchemy. Like, what can this teach us, right? In terms of science fiction, movie making, whatever.
Yeah, like for the technical aspect, like at least we should care, make us care about something. You can even care, like I had some. I spent last day listening to analysis of movies and TV series, and even if the main person is not a likable character, we can still care for what they do and understand why they do it and things like that. So at least make us care, and that you need dialogue for that, or for it to be
Mm.
a story, and you need to fill it with narratives and that some people are okay with not caring apparently, but make us care. And like it's very interesting themes in Dune and the Dune movie. I understand that he's a messianic character that goes from a neutral to evil, because he was like never good, but and that journey. But you can make that a better one because it's very important message and it's very dangerous in the world where we see messianic leaders and characters all over the world, and we have a backlash on democracy and a rise of violence in the world. So we're going in the wrong direction, and movies like this should be important warning signs why things are happening in the world and how we can spot all the narratives and all the threads that goes into making a dangerous world, and that should be explored, and it explores a little, but then we should have that discussion at least. And if even if he doesn't want to touch it in the movie, at least he should leave more threads for us to pick up and discuss that. Because I think there's like not much to pick up and discussing. Well, how do you create a revolution? A peaceful or a violent revolution? Is it necessary? Do we need a messianic leader for this to be a good or bad thing and things like that?
I mean, it does seem that we do need some kind of figure to rally behind, otherwise we don't rally, right? But then the danger is that that figure becomes, you know, drunk with power. Power corrupts, and
Mm.
absolute power corrupts absolutely. So the dialogue thing you mentioned is really interesting. I've heard Denis Villeneuve talk about that before, that he's not a fan of dialogue. In particular, what he doesn't like is expositional dialogue, right? Dialogue that explains to the audience what's going on. Um, that he doesn't like. And I understand that, right? It can be really clumsy when, oh, you remember, you know, when one character is saying to some another character something they already know, you know, in order to just explain to the audience, right? Like it can be really clumsy and
Yeah.
crappy. Um, but and also the other point I wanted, like Arrival is another one of Denis Villeneuve's films, and I loved that film. Right, I thought it was beautifully made, and I thought the story was
Yeah,
told really
that's his best, I
elegantly. And
think.
Yeah, it was a fantastic film, and but there was very little dialogue in that, a little bit, and what dialogue there was very meaningful, but actually it had a similar kind of vibe. There was lots of atmosphere, lots of quiet time, you know what I mean, lots of contemplative sort of vibe to it, and it really worked in that film. But yeah, with something like Dune, where there is so much, as you said, richness, and there is so much detail that you actually need to
It's
be
not
aware of
Earth.
in order
We
to
know.
understand what's going on, you know, like that. And so I was thinking a mini series. What do you think of a mini series for Dune? Like 8 2-hour episodes or 10 2-hour episodes, something like that, to really get into it. And then you
Yeah.
can, have the dialogue and the world building and the explanations. And it doesn't have to be clumsy. It can be done elegantly and gradually and really immersively. What do you think about that idea?
Yeah, yeah, you can do that, or like do what they did with Animatrix. You can add like a lot of context with small movies and things like that in addition to the movies. You can make low budget short movies or a TV
Interesting.
series that supports his worldview, because
Mm-hmm.
this is his take on Dune. So the old movies doesn't really relate to what he's doing and building here. So in that essence, you can't use the books or other movies as source material, because they not may not apply in his version of Dune, because this is his take on Dune. So they're not the same canon.
Mm. Yeah, I like that idea though of the sort of little supplementary movies. They can be short films, for feature length films, whatever, but that just fill in background details kind of thing, right? Like that, yeah, run alongside the main. I like that. I like that. Why don't more movies do that? That's a really good idea. Why don't more movies do that? Big movies, like that have big followings. Yeah, why don't like Star Wars has done that over the years, right? There's been lots and lots of little side things going on that sort of, but a lot of that has been
Yeah,
commercial
yeah,
crap as well. It hasn't actually contributed to the depth of the vision.
yeah. Like, and you can do it in all the ways. You can like say that this is canon and not canon. And Star Wars had an extended universe from the beginning that suddenly isn't canon and things like that. So Star Wars is of course a bad example because it's so big and large. But Dune is a much smaller franchise, so you can compare it to the like other things like Game of Thrones or The Matrix. Like The Matrix made the Animatrix and they made a computer game that were all the same story and same canon. So if you
Mm.
wanted to explore the narrative, you this was like on the same page.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Villeneuve believes that he has been very faithful to the book, albeit left some things out, right, in order to keep the movies manageable. But I think he feels that he's been very faithful to the source material.
Yeah, but he also changed a lot from what I hear people say. So
Yeah, I heard him speak about this, that he was trying to, when he was making these films, he was trying to honor the dream that he had as a 14-year-old boy reading these books, falling in love with the books and wanting to make the movie about them one day, like that's the vision that he was trying to honor. And I think that's really sweet. But it's I think it's unfortunate that because he demanded of all of the cast and crew that they became very, very familiar with the book as well, right? They all had to read, they had reading sessions together, discussions about the book and so on. Um, and so like everyone involved in making the film knows the book intimately, and so maybe they don't see the things that they're missing out, right? It all makes sense to them because they know the whole story anyway, right? And so maybe they just simply
yeah,
don't notice how important the things are that they're missing out to an audience that's coming to it
yeah,
not having read the books or not knowing the story. Maybe they just don't see it.
yeah. It's a large blind spot, or what can you call it? Like
Yeah,
we are not in their bubble.
yeah. All right. Is there anything else you
Yeah,
want to add, Michael? This has been fun. This has been interesting. It's nice to be so much on the same page. I completely
yeah,
agree with
yeah.
everything
No,
you said.
okay. I love stories. I love narratives. I love science fiction. I love sagas. I'm especially looking. I love the Andor, the TV series that made what the other TV series from Disney did not. Especially it explored the world building of the Empire and Star Wars, and it's so beautifully done. And I love Arcane, what it is, what he did for the world of League of Legends, the animated TV series, fantastic world building. Many agree that this is maybe the best world building in any TV series ever, because there's so many nuanced and things, and you can see on the number of analysis videos. Maybe watched 50 of them that analyze Arcane, and everyone picks up something different. So there's like at least 50 threads to pick up in the world building. So there's so much nuance and energy and love that went into making a TV series like that. And of course, that's what we want with our favorite franchises. We want to love them, and we want to feel this connection to them, and exploration, and curiosity and joy when we explore a narrative and a world building, or a fiction world.
Yeah, we want to love them, and then when it's what's presented to us is not lovable, we feel let down. Do you feel let down by Dune? Were you anticipating it being good and you were looking for it and you feel let down?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I was looking forward to like a Game of Thrones level of intrigue, even if it's only movies. We know we can do it in a movie like Cloud Atlas. They do fantastic world building for that little time they spend on each story. We really care about the characters, some of them, even if we just spend a half an hour with them in a
Mm,
movie and things like that. So we know it's doable.
mm.
The craftsmanship of telling a story with limited time in a movie. So yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Well, thank you very much, Michael, for coming on and giving your time and your, in my opinion, absolutely bang on analysis of the shortcomings of Dune. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'm open to change my mind if some people think differently. I'm not like hard stuck on my analysis. It was just a rant from the beginning, and
Hmm.
but there was so much that bugged me that I had to do it, because I was so many people like unfiltered just gave it 100% love, and I couldn't understand why.
I'll put a link to your Facebook rant in the description of this video. So anyone that's interested wants to go and have a look at it, they can do.
Yeah, sure.
All right, Michael,
Thank
thank
you,
you very much
everyone.
for coming on. It was
And
very nice talking to you. See you soon.
yeah.